Welcome to the program. Hello, I'm your host, Ron Whitlock. Sitting with us at our round table today, Tara Rios Ybarra, newly elected state representative, South Padre Island. She defeated incumbent Juan Escobar of Kingsville. Rene Oliveira, Brownsville, who's been with you on this program before. Welcome back, Rene.
Thank you.
And Aaron Pena, Edinburgh, who's been with you and I many, many times. He's one of our official prognosticators and pundits who help you and I understand what's going on within the political process. First thing, guys, we're going to welcome the new member of the Valley delegation. Welcome.
Thank you.
She's having an opportunity to get acquainted with the other two members who are here present, Rene and Aaron, and they're all very pleased in what they see and what they hear from the new state representative. And so tell us basically, how does it feel? You're unseating the incumbent Juan Escobar was somewhat of a shock to many politicians and others who watch politics in South Texas. How does it feel to you, having gone through the bruising campaign you went through and then having won?
Right. It's actually very humbling. I feel like my district is the most amazing district in Texas, and so I feel incredibly humbled to represent South Texas at the state level.
Very humbling. You're going from cactus ranching to farming around Kingsville and the King Ranch headquarters on down to Spring Break headquarters,
That's
South
right.
Padre Island. I mean, what more diverse district can you want than that?
You can't ask for more diversity than my district holds.
And home to the Irma Rangel Pharmacy School, where you and I did some programs, Aaron.
That's right.
Very important to the entire region, putting out pharmacists who will, because they trained here, hopefully stay here. That normally is the case.
Exactly. And so I think humbled is a perfect word. This is something that I've always dreamt about. I worked hard, and it's a pleasure to be sitting here at this table today.
Any plans in particular with the Irma Rangel School of Pharmacy? Any needs there that are not being met?
Well, I think key is research opportunities. In the Hispanic population, diabetes is at an all-time high. It's at epidemic proportions. And so I really see schools like the Irma Rangel becoming research opportunities, not only for the state of Texas, but for this country. So I hope to put more research dollars into that school.
She was a legacy to many young Hispanics, yourself included.
That's right. When I found out that I lived in Irma's district, it felt like that was the final piece of information that I needed to know before I ran for the seat.
Now, Rene is one of the deans of the legislature, especially coming out of the Valley, working with Irma Rangel. Would she be pleased?
I think Irma is happy with all of us and watching us right now from the gates. I think she would be happy. She was very much an advocate for minority women getting their places. She was a pioneer in that area. Broke into the legislature, I believe the first Hispanic woman ever elected.
That's what I remember.
And I think she would be thinking very positive about this change.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. I was very fortunate to have served one term with Irma, and she was an inspiration to all of us. We had some of our toughest struggles. If you remember, that was a redistricting session, and she, for us who were coming in new, much as you are, Tara, she brought us under her wing, and she coached us and told us that our responsibility was to our voters and citizens, even those people who did not participate. Something I've never forgotten, and it's good that we have her legacy to guide us by.
She sat right here in this studio, not necessarily at this round table, and sat right there, Tara Rios, and proposed nothing more than a state income tax.
Now we're going to get controversial now. I thought this was
no, that was Irma Rangel with her opponent sitting next to her, whom she beat handily.
I am opposed to a state income tax.
It's a smart position.
I don't think anybody else has brought that up since she left the legislature.
She was a fighter. I mean, Irma was a fighter, and That's what I remember her best at. She was a small woman at the end of her life. She was somewhat frail, but she had a spirit.
Small woman, not frail.
Yeah. She was a fighter, and so she's a good role model to follow.
This young lady fought the battles of the Whataburger politicking and asking for the votes. And David Guetta, one of our sponsors of the program, President of IBC Banks in Hidalgo County, said he ran into Tara Rios Ybarra there, and she asked him for the vote. And he said, I would more than happy be glad to vote for you. However, I don't live in the district. I live in McAllen.
Yep. And I think that's the key. I think that's part of why I won. It was about talking to voters, not politicians. I went to Whataburger. I went to people's homes. I stood outside the Walmart parking lot. I just tried to talk to people.
And your husband, he accompanied you on these escapades?
Well, someone had to work, so he actually spent many hours working and with the children.
Which are how many?
I have 2 children, 2 and 6.
Wow. So the husband is doing all of those things while you're out running for office.
Yes.
And being a dentist too at the same time.
That's right.
All in South Padre Island.
Well, I actually work in Brownsville.
A little bit of time spent growing up in Kingsville, that helped you in your election win?
Well, I actually grew up in Corpus Christi. So,
Okay.
But my knowledge of South Texas runs deep. My father was from Kingsville. My mother was born in Edinburgh. And so my entire family is from South Texas, some part of it.
Very unique district she has, from basically Hebronville, Jim Hogg County, Falfurrias, Brooks County, Clayburgh in Kingsville, Kennedy County, on down to Raymondville, Williston County, and on down to South Padre Island, as we discussed. Now, we're going to come back to you in just a moment and kind of do as we discussed prior to the beginning of our tape recording on this day. What exactly did was the negotiation between the voters? We're going to vote for you, Aaron, you, Rene. We're going to give you our vote. We want to make sure you handle this issue for us when you go to the next session of the legislature come January. And we're going to talk to each one of them about that. What were those issues and what they're going to be planning to do in that regard, in anticipation now that you feel obligated, as most politicians would during this courting process, of what you're going to do to redeem those voters for their goodwill and their vote for you during that period of time. We'll start with Aaron on that, go to the other side. Now, Aaron, what did your voters tell you they wanted the most during this re-employment agreement that you've now negotiated? You've now won, you beat your opponent. What did they say they wanted you to accomplish for them in your district around Edinburgh?
They wanted to see the growth continue. They want to see positive growth. In other words, growth for growth's sake is not good. They want to see constructive growth. The university students, which I represent, wanted to make sure that tuition was affordable. Tuition rates have gone up very high, and there were large complaints about how expensive it was, quite frankly, to get a higher education. Healthcare is always an interest throughout the valley in South Texas. If you get sick, it could be an economic, it can send you into a tailspin. People want healthcare to be affordable for themselves and for their families. And obviously we want to continue having good quality jobs. We want to make sure that people have not just your basic service jobs that we've been used to over the past. We want quality jobs. We want to be able to compete in the statewide marketplace and the global marketplace. And so they wanted somebody from the community. I'm from there. I'm from Edinburgh. My grandfather's from Elsa, and my father's from Elsa. So we kind of covered the whole district. And what they want is a responsive representative who cares and wants to see us continue to grow, wants our kids to have a better place than the one that we had. And we want to continue doing our best to partner with growing South Texas, where we work together hand in hand and we succeed in bringing home the bacon and doing good things for our community.
What are you going to do when you go back to the legislature come January now to accomplish what your voters said they wanted if they gave you the vote, and they did?
Well, the first thing we have to do, and we've all been preaching about it, is to begin thinking as a region. Two of the big items on our agenda are the medical school, a full-fledged medical school.
And that's a combination of RAC Harlingen and RAC Edinburgh? Yes.
Yes, we all have to work together. In the past, we've had struggles between different regions over the valley, and so regardless of where it is, like the pharmacy school, it's in South Texas. we need to begin to work together so that South Texas succeeds, and we do that by working together and not fighting with each other. And that's
and prior
one.
to that, pharmacy school had to go to Houston. Closest place you go was to Houston.
Yeah, and I'm very proud that it's in Kingsville, and you know, we could have stolen that if we put our minds to it. But we have to begin to work as a region and make sure that, regardless of where things are, if we have access to it, if our people have access to it, it's good for all of South Texas.
My family went to Texas A&I all of my life. That was our college of choice. Not only of choice, it was by necessity the only one we had till Pan Am came along.
The Veterans Hospital is another big issue. All the veterans have been pushing for that, and that kind of works hand in hand with the medical school. Okay, we're all going to have to, our federal allies and state allies and private industry is all going to have to come together to work towards that. Other things that are of interest, obviously, we all want our kids to have quality education, access to higher education. We have to keep our taxes fair.
But on the area of college tuition rates, what are you going to do in that particular regard? Who do you fight? Commission for Higher Education? Is that where the higher tuition rates occur?
We deregulated tuition. We allowed the universities, with the permission of their coordinating body, to set rates, and unfortunately they've gone up so quickly. It's pricing out the middle class and the working class, and so we have to do what we can to allow our community to have access, because as we all know, education is the way out of poverty. It's the way out of many of our troubles in our society, and so it's important that we all stand together, and we've done that in the past. Renee's been a good leader for us, and we've stood strong for education and having access to education. We need to keep that going.
Renee, same basic area of discussion. You're on the campaign trail, you're getting out of your district, you have to forego making money as a lawyer. That's very expensive for you because you're a high-priced lawyer. But you're paid
I just lost clients on that.
Right, and you're paid $600 a month. That's your check for being state representative, for God's sake.
Right.
So here you are, and you're costing yourself untold bobs of dollars to get this $600 paycheck to where it's continue to serve. So what did your constituents say that they wanted, were concerned about, that they wanted you to work on if they reelected you?
Well, Aaron laid out a lot of the same issues: Veterans Hospital, health care, education, but I've heard other anxieties too. Tara mentioned before we started the program, the economy, and you know, it is about the economy, stupid. I mean, it's back again, and I think that's where it's swaying in presidential politics as well. People are concerned about the horrible price of gasoline, about rising health care costs, about rising homeowners insurance costs, about not being able to afford health care, as we've talked about. There's a lot of anxiety about the economy right now. The anxiety ties into the ridiculous border wall. How is that going to affect our economy? And what can we in the state do about that?
Well, right now the paperwork problem is people don't know, locals don't know, what does it take to go to Progresso, or go to Matamoros, and come back? You need a driver's license, you need this, you need so-and-so. So a lot of people from the valley are not going.
But it's not just that issue of coming back and forth. I mean, we don't see the people from the valley or the state going into Matamoros, Reynosa, or Progresso as they used to, but it's the fact that our economies are interlocked. If I've always said, if Matamoros gets a cold, we sneeze.
Absolutely.
If Reynosa coughs, you know, we're taking the medicine in McAllen and Edinburgh. It is something that we have got to accept and embrace and try to convince our federal leaders that this wall could be very damaging to the economy.
Already is, just the message going out, it already is.
It has caused a lot of stress and anxiety and problems, and I'm still hoping that we can do something about that. I think Aaron also hit it right. There may be a move to re-regulate tuition. There are a lot of people that are upset about how, well, we deregulated the cost of tuition. In other words, before, the legislature had a great deal of say-so over what tuition would be at our universities.
Put it in the
When
hands
we
of,
deregulated it,
let
as
the
he
colleges
said,
and universities do their own.
yes, we let those systems make those decisions, the UT system, the NM system, and the individual universities.
Hadn't worked, Aaron?
I'm not saying we're there yet, but there are a lot of people that are starting to say that may have been a mistake.
On the
And
campaign
the same
trail, they're
thing,
telling you that, right?
let me say one other thing. Same thing on the regulation of utilities. There are a lot of people are concerned about the deregulation of utilities and the cost of electricity, and you know, there may be these may be serious areas of debate and concern.
Tara Rios Ybarra, dentist, hot off the campaign trail, spring break week, Texas week on her island now, and we're going to spend some time with you there and talk about is it time to build that second causeway, to at least discuss it a little bit. What are the main issues that your constituents, primarily on the island, who felt like they may have been not paid much attention to by your predecessor, what were they telling you they wanted you to accomplish from an island perspective, from a valley-wide economy perspective, because that island economy affects the economy over the entire Rio Grande Valley? What did they say they wanted you to do for them?
Right. Well, first I have to talk a little bit about the rest of my district because it is so diverse. And so the first thing that I want to say is my district overall is very poor. And what they were talking about, the vast majority of my district, was the economy. One day I was block walking and I walked into someone's home in Willacy, and it was in Lyford, and they happened to be cutting up diabetic medication at their table. And they were doing that because her husband worked in Harlingen. And so they had to decide who got gas money, who got money for medicine, and who got food. And so these are very basic issues that my district has to deal with. So at one end I have the island, which is a very wealthy area, and it's vitally important. We need those tax dollars. But in the middle of my district, I have people that cannot get their medicine, cannot get gas money, and we need to join the two, and that's with economic development. And so spring break is one issue that we need to discuss, but never can we forget that the vast majority of my district needs jobs and needs money.
Well, most of the ad valorem taxes of your island goes into the Cameron County coffers.
That's correct.
And so that keeps taxes low in Cameron County.
Exactly.
But the Willacy County portion of South Padre Island is not developed. So
right.
for you to be able to affect the same thing for Willacy County that is currently occurring in Cameron County, then you've got to get that road up a little further north into the Willacy County line and have more than a nude beach. You're going to have some other things going on with condos and those kind of things for ad valorem taxes for Willacy County, correct?
Correct, and that's what it's about. It's about expanding and regionalizing our approach to economic development.
Start twisting his arm, because he can help you get that done. If he's in lockstep with you.
Right, I have
even though he represents Port Isabel.
Right, I have a lot to learn, and again, it's an honor to be at this table with these two accomplished legislators. And so I will be bending their ear and their arm many times over the next 2 years.
Renee's the educational expert of the delegation.
That's right.
Without question, so he can help you do anything you want to do with Irma Ron-Hell or your college in Kingsville.
And again, many of my constituents are saying that we're losing them in junior high.
Yeah.
So they're not even getting the opportunity to be talking about the high cost of college because they're dropping out in junior high. And so this issue runs deep.
Aaron's saying the same thing. What's going on, Aaron?
Without a doubt. We've got a problem. 15, 16-year-olds, and there's a real crisis that we have not fully confronted, and that is the high dropout rate in our community and the state of Texas. It's a real crime that so many kids drop out and then fall into the criminal justice system, and we see it. And we don't need to build more prisons. We need to invest in our kids early. So I agree.
I think it's very accurate. It's called the 9th grade spike, where we may lose as many as 40 or 50% of our freshmen, and they don't return to get a high school diploma. They may get a GED. I think we've come up with some creative programs, but the key certainly in most education circles is to get to these kids in 1st and 2nd and 3rd grade and get them committed now to getting a diploma, getting their parents involved in that, understanding the significance of what a high school diploma means, and then 2 years at a junior college and what a college degree means to their life, to their income, to the being part of the American dream. We've got a lot of tough issues, and we're going to be a very united Valley delegation, as we've always been, and I think we can get a lot done. We have a good group, and I'm excited. I've been doing this for, as you know, 24 years and going into my 13th term, and we have a very talented group to work with.
Who do we need to be bringing to this table in future programs, all three of you, and talking about this serious issue, Rene?
Well, I'll start with, I think we need to be bringing in our superintendents and some of our school boards. I feel we have been getting more and more money into our school districts and asking them to be more creative.
But will money solve this problem?
No, money, not money alone, but there is an issue about money. I think you need to invest in these children early to make sure that we don't lose them at the 9th grade. And that means starting at the, you know, even kinder and pre-kinder, 1st and 2nd grade, and convincing them. I think we might start looking at some punitive measures towards school districts that aren't making an increased effort and success effort.
That sounds like No Child Left Behind, and that hadn't been very popular with a lot of people.
Well, it's different than that. I mean, I think if we put the money there and the resources there, and we let our local school boards and teachers do more creative things in this area, I think we can start reducing that percentage significantly. And this is not something that we just found out. We have been working on this, Aaron and I and others, for a long time. But there's a lot more we have to do, because the drain, as Aaron touched upon on our criminal justice system, these kids don't have a place to go. And many of them turn to drugs and crime and gangs, and then they're not taxpayers, they're not contributing to the economy, they're not helping their families. We've got to save these kids. We've got to break this cycle.
Judge Flotis, the advocacy judge for all placements in this 4-county area, says right there and said, if a child is abused as a child, they will end up in prison. That's the number 1 percentile, 80%. Those who are abused as children, verbally, physically, sexually, otherwise, will end up going to prison with all the other things in between, the drugs and so forth. You had an answer.
Right. I also think it needs to be grassroots. We need to get teachers here that are dealing with students on a daily basis. Also, we've been cutting programs for adult literacy, and that's key. We have a population of adult parents that do not read and write English. And so I believe that we need to fund those programs, because that's how we're going to get those kinder and those 1st graders reading. And so I think it's multi-tiered, but it is truly getting the parents as educated as we can. Again, Willacy County, another example. They're cutting the adult literacy programs. They're cutting them.
Aaron Pena, Rene Oliveira, Ybarra, thank you for joining us at our round table. If you missed part of this program and want to see all of it, you can go to ronwhitlock.com, call it up 24/7 on the World Wide Web, or if you want another friend anywhere in the world to view this program, you can go to that website and do so. Till next time, adios.